The mouth is a structure that functions to mechanically chew food into smaller pieces and physically break it up, so that it makes it a little bit easier for the enzymes in the other regions of the alimentary canal to begin the chemical digestion process, because chemical digestion occurs much more easily when food, or much more efficiently rather too, when food has been broken down into physically smaller pieces. We see that the mouth also functions to mix food with saliva, forming a rounded mass that's referred to as a bolus. The mouth also begins chemical digestion using several enzymes. We see that carbohydrate digestion begins using an enzyme called salivary amylase, which is secreted by the salivary glands. We also see that lipid digestion begins using an enzyme that's called lingual lipase. The mouth will then use the tongue as well as other musculature in the walls of the mouth as well as in the throat in order to direct and move that chewed food into the pharynx. Primarily in the mouth, we'll examine the tongue, which the tongue contains numerous sensory structures for both taste, texture, as well as temperature of food. The tongue itself is coated with small bumps that are called papillae. Several of the papillae, called the fungiform papillae, contain the taste buds or the taste receptors, and we find that they cover a good majority of the tongue's surface. And interspersed between them, we also see what are called the filiform papillae. And the filiform papillae do not contain taste buds or taste receptors, but instead they function to create a rough surface which helps the tongue to grip and manipulate the food bolus as it's being mixed within the mouth. The mouth also contains 3 saliva-producing glands. The first is called the parotid gland, which is located in the cheek region near the temporal bone. The sublingual gland, which is located underneath the tongue. And the third is the submandibular gland, which is found underneath the mandible bone of the lower jaw. We see that all 3 of these glands, when combined, they produce anywhere between 1 liter to 1.5 liters of saliva per day. And saliva is a mixture of materials that contains mostly water, about 99% water, along with some electrolytes like sodium and potassium, as well as some buffers like bicarbonate to help maintain the pH of saliva. Because maintaining the pH with the bicarbonate will help those enzymes function more efficiently in their digestion. Saliva also contains some mucus, which helps to aid in the passage of the bolus through the mouth, the pharynx, as well as the esophagus. The moisture, the water in saliva, helps to moisten and soften foods. The saliva itself also contains an antibacterial enzyme, which is called lysozyme, that functions to kill bacteria that may have been ingested with the food that we're consuming. The enzymes that we mentioned earlier, the salivary amylase and the lingual lipase. Salivary amylase functions to begin the digestion of carbohydrates, and lingual lipase will function to begin the chemical digestion of lipids into fatty acids. And these enzymes will work until these enzymes and the bolus reach the stomach, because as soon as the stomach acids make contact with the enzymes will be destroyed and inactivated. In this diagram here, we see the 3 salivary glands. We see the sublingual gland located underneath the tongue, the parotid gland located just anterior to the ear near the temporal bone, and the submandibular gland located underneath the mandible bone.